Hi, folks. Meteorologist Matt Noyes here. Great to be with you. You know, if you missed me on NBC 10 Boston and ACN this morning, I just wanted to get one point across because it's not too late to do it. And I think it's an important one, which is the fact that we've got thunderstorms on the way today and a lot of youth sports that are getting back in gear here. There's going to be kids who are going to be outside, and it's really important we know what to do with the fact that there's a lightning threat today, particularly when you take into account the fact that social distancing is still going on. So just something I wanted to run down with you real quick. We are on guard this afternoon and evening from 3:30 in the afternoon onward. We think the worst of the weather will start coming in. I'll show you more specific timing here in just 1 second. We say when thunder roars, go indoors. You know, it's kind of a silly phrase in a way, right? But here's the thing. You know how your cell phone will give you updates when you have any type of severe thunderstorm warning, something like that comes in? Those severe thunderstorm warnings from the government that set off your phone are based upon damaging wind or hail. So think about that for a second. You get 1,000 lightning strikes in your town alone. That's not enough to warrant a severe thunderstorm warning. Part of that is because lightning generation is a really hard thing to forecast and how much you're going to get and, of course, where it's going to strike. Bottom line, you're on your own a little bit, and I'll show you how I think you can help yourself with technology here in just 1 second. So that's why we say when thunder roars, go indoors. If you can hear that thunder, you are close enough that a lightning strike is a concern. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing folks will ask me is, well, what is it? How long do you count between the flash and the thunder to know how far away the lightning strike was? It's 5 seconds per mile. So you're going to see the flash first. Then you're going to count. If you count out 5 seconds, that's 1 mile. You count out 10 seconds, that's 2 miles. Et cetera, et cetera. The other thing that I want to drive home is that, you know, with a lot of baseball fields getting used again, dugouts are not safe places to be from lightning. You say, well, yeah, but I'm covered, I'm sheltered. Unless you've got a building that it's got a piping and that's got electricity and is grounded, which very few of the dugouts are like that, it is not safe. The lightning can go right through the top. Same thing goes for gazebos, any other type of shelter outside. So if you're a parent, you're going to be bringing your kids out to the outdoor sports here later on today. My suggestion is stick around, stick close by. Again, I'll give you a little bit of help on how to figure out if you can go do an errand or whatever coming up here in just a second, because the car is a totally safe place to be from lightning. If lightning strikes a car, it goes around the outside as long as the windows are up, down into the ground, and you're super safe. So sticking around, let the kids duck in the car is great, because keep in mind the other thing, right? Social distancing is going to introduce these complications now, because you can't just group all the kids together. Let's say you have a small space that is well grounded. You can't do much with that. So your question becomes, all right, well, what time do I really need to worry about things? Here's the map at noon. What I'm using here is some guidance from the government. Your tax dollars paid for these. You can actually access this stuff all online. This is called the High Resolution Rapid Refresh Guidance. It comes out every hour, and it's highly detailed. But what I've noticed is it's been really consistent over the course of the morning so far in the timing. So that's 1 p.m. Notice by 1 o'clock, you already may have some strong thunderstorms across the Great North Woods, across the North Country of New England. Most of us, look, there's a chance of a shower wandering through because it is really humid outside, but that's going to be about it. And the bigger storms wait till later. Here's 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Now, this is interesting. Between 3 and 4 p.m., storms developed just west of Manchester and made their way right over the city of Manchester and Concord. So now more folks start to get into this, right? Freiburg, Maine starts to send the storms down toward Augusta and Bangor. We start to get into the storms, Western Mass, Western Connecticut, into some pretty big storms by 4 o'clock. So now it becomes a bit of an issue for us already, right? Let's go to 5. There's 5 p.m., more strong storms developing in the areas that you see the red and the purple. What are the concerns with these storms? Well, I mentioned lightning. Lightning is going to be a huge concern, obviously, right? Cloud to ground lightning. But the other things are going to be, there could be some hail in the center of them. It's going to be wicked heavy rain. It's going to make driving really tough. It's going to slow a lot of folks down because of that. So that's something else you want to consider. Let's go back to the maps and show you the rest of how this is going to play out here. So we left off at about 5 p.m. Okay, let's go to 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Now the storms are closing in on the Merrimack Valley. They're coming in through the Worcester area. Also, look at southern Maine, Portland, Maine, Casco Bay area, all the way up the Maine Turnpike, getting clocked by storms. 5, 6 o'clock. Let's go farther out. 7 o'clock now. The storms into the Boston Metro, settling down along the coastline of New Hampshire and making their way farther toward the south and east, where by 8 p.m., they're all done. So I said I could help you out a little bit with figuring out, okay, exactly what is it that I can do to kind of plan ahead. So you're dropping the kids off at practice and you say, how do I know if I can go run an errand, whatever? Look, my advice that I gave this morning was get our app. Seriously, get our NBC 10 Boston or our NECN app, because you get this. Let me show you what you get. I'm using it off our website right now, but it does the same thing. This is the interactive radar. So over here on the right side, see, I can move the radar around. I can zoom in, which on your phone is a pinch and zoom, right? right? And so you're able to at least see if there are storms on top of you. There is a future radar forecast product, but I actually would trust more just looking at it and seeing. So there's some of the showers and storms now in Maine as I'm doing this, but I would trust just looking at it and seeing, okay, is there any storms around, and are they coming at me? If you can get that kind of at least gauge, then at least you know right off the bat whether or not you can go run an errand, or you just want to stick around the field for the kids so you can be there so they can duck in the car if they need to later on. Now, inevitably, there's always some of you who are watching these videos that really enjoy to kind of dig into the weather technical side of things. So I'm going to do that next, but if you're not really into that, you get the idea for today. Be on guard. Keep in mind, car is safe. A real formidable, sturdy building is safe. But with the social distancing stuff going on, I think the best thing to do is just stand by and be ready for the kids stuck in the car. All right. Now, for those of you who do like to get into the geekery of weather, as I like to call it, let's do it. Here's what's going on and what's driving these thunderstorms for us today. This is called water vapor imagery. Yellow indicates dry air. The blue, the white, the green is where you have more moisture. First of all, you notice the issue down to the south. That's the system the National Hurricane Center is watching. That has a 70% chance of becoming a named or numbered tropical storm or depression by the time we get to the end of the week. And yes, I'm forecasting to come up here. But for the sake of the length of this video, let's focus on what's happening here today, right now. You can see that we do have a disturbance. There's a dry air push coming in toward northern New England. When you see the drying happen like that, that's usually behind a disturbance. So the disturbance right now is located across northern New England. We know that that is the energy. It's going to be driving the weather today. You say, okay, well, how do we know whether or not we're going to find enough sunshine and warmth to make this happen? Notice there are already breaks in the clouds that are developing. All these clouds were the product of the increasing humidity. As a matter of fact, we can go over to the surface observations, and the dew point temperature are the bottom numbers in blue. We now have dew points of 70 to 73 degrees across the area, a tremendously humid air mass that's in place. As soon as we break even a little sun out, that'll be energy for these storms. But even without it, the temperature now 79 degrees in a bunch of spots. So you're already 80 without the input of any sunshine. Is that amazing or what? So a couple of things that I've been looking at that are really kind of grabbing me. One, I got to tell you, I think that southern Maine is going to be an especially active place today. One thing that we can look at is the maximum updraft within the storm. So here's the deal on if you love the weather technical side of things. Updraft is basically, it's the air that rushes up in the heart of the storm, and it's what makes the storm what it is. It's that warm, moist air rushing up like you took the top off a pot of boiling water and the steam went up. Downdraft is the opposite. It's almost like the exhaust pipe of the storm, and that's where you get your downburst winds that cause damage, because all of that warm air that goes up cools up inside the cloud, and when it gets to be colder air, it comes rushing down, and that becomes the damaging part of the storm. But what you're looking at for indications of a storm that might be strong is you're looking for maximum updraft, and you see a lot of maximum updrafts that are going on across a lot of New Hampshire, and yes, into a good portion of Maine and down into Worcester County for that matter as well. Doesn't mean the rest of us are exempt from seeing strong storms, but it means that that's where the greatest storm growth is going to be. One thing that I've been looking at on our own model, we built our own model in-house. So one of the things I've been looking at is what we call updraft helicity. So updraft helicity, it is kind of what it sounds like, which is helicity comes from the word helix, right? DNA, you think of a helix, it's a spiral. So the question here is, what is the tendency of the air to spin as it rises? As it goes in that updraft, what's the tendency it's going to have to spin and form a helix? And that is what we would call updraft helicity. Well, in this case, you can see that it really is maximized across central and southern Maine. So this tells me we need to be on guard for possible tornado development across those areas with the deeper blue. Now, you'll also notice there's some that comes across southern New Hampshire and into northern Mass, right? So it's not like there's no spin that's going on, but boy, the thing that really just grabs your attention and grabs mine right away is in Maine. Here's the other interesting thing. This is precipitation forecast, and this is only precipitation forecast over the course of 3 hours. Look at this. This is about 2 to 3 inches of precipitation forecast by the NAM model, which is one of the many guidance products we have, over the course of 3 hours that happens between 5 and 8 p.m. right across the Portland area and the suburbs just north of Portland. That is a classic flash flood signature. We need to be ready for flash flooding across the Portland, Maine area. Be ready to seek higher ground. Do not drive through flooded areas. Some roads are going to flood, et cetera, et cetera. You need to make sure that you're careful with that, you're on guard for that, and you're ready for that. All right, so that is another thing that we're really watching. There are also noticed some flash flood possibilities across some of the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire. That is not at all uncommon to find flash flooding in the mountainous terrain because runoff, it can be so localized and you get so much rain that goes into one spot. Other thing I want to show you, this is thunderstorm energy that's available for us here today. You'll notice it does build. You're looking for the blues and greens for some of the higher amounts of thunderstorm energy that's available. And then it shrinks as we go into the evening and the night. Well, watch this. You ready? This is tomorrow. Tomorrow, some spots have even more thunderstorm energy than today. So does that mean I'm worried about a big widespread outbreak with this? I'm not at this point. I do think that there will be a couple of storms tomorrow. We don't have the same trigger. Remember how we looked at the energy that was coming down out of Canada? We don't have that kind of energy tomorrow. So chances are good you get an isolated storm, but even an isolated storm with that kind of thunderstorm energy is something that you have to be ready for to grow to severe limits. So we may find an isolated severe thunderstorms developing in the heat and humidity of tomorrow when, by the way, the dew points will still be back around and over 70. There is no break in the dew point just because the disturbance comes through today. And the heat is going to be around 90 for a heat index. It'll be running probably closer to 93, 94 in a lot of spots by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. So that's the rundown on where we stand with some of the thunderstorms for today. If you liked this, I don't know, let me know if you liked it, right? Because it takes a little time to put together, what have you. I used to do them all the time. People love them. If you like this stuff, let me know. Maybe I'll do another one here as we get into this weird tropical system that we're going to be looking at after we get through today for some gusty wind and downpours coming in late Friday through early Saturday or somewhere thereabouts. All right. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. And I will keep you posted on the weather on NBC 10 Boston ACN as always. And of course, on my social media feed, all the important alerts and warnings and stuff like that go out on my Twitter feed at NBC Boston if you want to check that out. Okay. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for checking in.